Thank you, Senator. Thank you. It's a real treat to be with you today on such a momentous, auspicious moment as we're establishing a Tibet house right here in California, which is the gateway to the Pacific Rim, a place where half of all Tibetans in the nation live in Northern California, and a place, of course, that we all love being Californians. I wanted to share two very short stories that relate to you why this cause and issue is so important to me. I found myself years and years ago as a single dad raising an infant in diapers. And although that's not common now, that was rather unusual 35 years ago. And I spent all those years raising that child, and we became very, very close as he grew to be a young man. And he finally graduated from high school, and as many kids do, he didn't take his dad's advice. In fact, he made a point of pretty much doing the exact opposite of what I encouraged him to do. So I went, son, you need to go to college, you need to make plans, you have to kind of see where you're going to go and really apply yourself. Well, his decision was, nah, I think I just want to go see the world. And boy, did he ever. He went to every place you can imagine. And there was an extended period of time where, as a father, I was very worried, because I literally did not know where on the face of earth my son was. And I remember one day, the phone rang, and I picked it up, and it was David. It was my son. And he said to me, I'd really like you to come and see where I'm staying. I go, well, where are you? And he said, I'm in India. I go, okay. Well, how do I find you? He said, well, you need to go ahead, get your shots, because you've got to be able to get the visa. Fly into Delhi, go ahead and hire a driver, and drive about 10 hours north. Okay, I'm going to drive 10 hours north, and you're going to find this town called Dharamsala. I said, all right. He said, then the driver will leave, and you need to get a rickshaw. And you need to go down a little path and up a road, and then you have to get out, and then you have to start hiking. And then you'll see this little arch, and the arch will say, it's a Tibetan children's village. And I'm staying there. So, literally hours, some scores of hours later, raced to see my son, had this extraordinary experience of landing in India, going across northern India, getting to this gateway to the Tibetan children's village, walked through, and there was my son. All he had was his Oxford dictionary and a backpack, and he was teaching English to Tibetan children at the Tibetan Children's Village. And I met many of the children. I spoke to the counselors and those who were there. I fell in love with Tibetan culture, Tibetan people, and was so moved by what I saw. And my son and I, we then spent 3 weeks traveling, and we had a great time, and I came back to California. And I found myself years and years and years later, a decade later, in this California State Legislature. And we reached the 50th anniversary of the date when His Holiness left Tibet. And I decided we needed to honor that. And we needed to hold up as an example His Holiness and many of the values of those things that he speaks to, and also to remember and protect Tibetan culture. To me, it seemed obvious. It seemed like a simple thing. A funny thing happened on the way to trying to get that resolution heard. The Chinese government decided they had some concerns with the resolution. It was so lovely. We had literally hundreds of Tibetans come up to the Capitol, and we had a cultural day where we gathered together in song and music and sharing stories. And we got to the floor and sought that vote to recognize His Holiness and to have California stand up with the Tibetan people. And the bill was killed. The bill was killed. And do you know what happened? It made all of us stronger. We gathered together, and it caused us to form a group where we began telling everyone about how wonderful Tibetan culture is. And it was amazing. Even in the face of that adversity, the Tibetan people who gathered together were strong and loving and talking about the future. And I share that because many people measure advancement by successes. But sometimes successes aren't because you're passive. The success comes in standing together and daring big things and not losing hope. And that's why I feel so touched and inspired by the ability to work with Tibetan people in this larger cause, which is to make sure Tibetan culture is strengthened and people can understand the incredible values it brings to others. Thank you for the opportunity to share those two stories. I'd now like to introduce Dr. Paul Ekman. Paul and I had a really nice opportunity to visit. He's an extraordinary man. He is a professor emeritus at UC San Francisco. He spent many years working in some of the most advanced research in dealing with psychology, in particular, some of the subtle cues that occur in our visage and our face as we feel emotions and we convey them or choose not to. Around the world, more than 500 people, including neurologists, psychiatrists, psychologists, have learned Dr. Ekman's research tool called FACS, F-A-C-S, Facial Action Coding System, a process to decipher which of the 43 muscles in the face are working at any given moment, even when an emotion is fleeting. His articles have appeared in Time magazine, Smithsonian, Psychology Today, The New Yorker, and many others. He's had articles in the New York Times, The Washington Post, other newspapers. He's been a real leader in pulling together people to support this effort, and I'm just privileged to be on the stage with him, Dr. Paul Ekman.